This time I'm going to write a basic program that will take in an integer and square that value, but we're going to use addition to square it and then return it back to the calling function. So for this program, we're going to use two functions. One of them I'm going to call square, and the other one I'm going to call add. And that's all that we're going to do is use those two functions to pass in an integer, square it, return it, print it out. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is declare my prototype of the square function. I'm going to name the function square, and it's only going to take one argument as an int. I'm going to come down here, and now I'm going to write the definition of our function. We're going to accept an int. We're going to call the variable x. I'm going to create a variable I, assign it to 1. This is going to be just a for loop iterator variable. Then we're going to take a temp variable, assign it to the value of x, which is coming into it. So I'm going to set the TMP variable to the same value that is in x, so we can use it in a for loop as the sentinel to exit the loop. We're going to set up a for loop. So basically what we have to do to square a number is you have to add it to itself. For instance, if we have 8 and you want to square 8, you will add 8 to itself 8 times. And that's what we're doing in this for loop. I want to keep testing the value of I to temp. So I will exit out of the loop when I becomes greater than the value that's in temp. In here, I'm going to call my special add function where I'm going to pass in the value of x, the value of temp, and then there will be added together, and then the return will be stored back into x. And we keep going through this loop, incrementing I each time until it becomes greater than the value of TMP. Here I'm just going to return x back to the calling function. I'm going to move back up to the top and declare my add function, which will take in an int and an int and then add them together. I'm going to come back down here and then we'll go ahead and write the definition of this. I'm not going to explain the details of how the add function was created since it's in another video. Basically, this function just adds two integer values together using the bitwise operators, and it's replacing the addition operator. So let's go back up here to the top of the program and compile it, see if we have any errors in here. We got one error. Oh, I forgot my semicolon here. Compile again, everything's okay. So I'm going to declare my variable x, set it equal to 0. So I'm going to write out my printf statement here to request the user to enter an integer to be squared. Here I'm going to use a scanf to prompt the user for input, and we're going to pass the address of x into scanf. I'm going to use fflush to flush the standard input buffer. Just more of a habit in this particular case. It's not necessary. I'm going to write out another printf statement here. So here I'm going to call my function to square, passing in x. And again, that return value is what is printed out on the monitor. Compile, everything looks fine. Look down here, everything looks good. Let's come up here and run it. You bring my output window over. It's prompting me to enter an integer. We'll put in 9, and the square of 9 is 81. So did exactly what we wanted to do. Looks great. So that's basically how you can use addition to square a number.